good. My name is Betsy Williams. I'm the curator for the Byzantine collection at Dumbarton Oaks. And I opened the workshop today by thanking the HIAA board. This was really a lot of fun to plan, and they were extremely supportive of the workshop throughout. So thanks to the HIAA board, and particularly to Emily and to Srinanda Ganguly, who were helping us with troubleshooting and organizing and all the logistical support. So we're just so appreciative of this. And we did not know it was the inaugural one really until last week. So this was just really great. Now, in some ways, to conduct provenance research is to embark on a lifelong apprenticeship. It is rarely taught in graduate programs per se, and the expertise is usually gained through firsthand experience in museums or archives. Much of its methodology has been dominated by approaches relevant to 19th and 20th century European paintings. So these are unique works of art. They're often completed by a single named artist. They're of high value and thus documented in historical and modern inventories. Sometimes they have stickers or other identifying marks on the objects themselves. And they were collected in European and North American museums with ownership or title established through laws and legal precedent. Now, this is a methodological baseline that is relevant to all provenance research. It is a focus on detail and a reckoning with the unknowability in the historical record. It is the development of a researcher's intuition to recognize a dead end or conversely reroutes in the trail. And it is to understand that there are very unpredictable timelines in which information might reveal itself only after years of viewing and reviewing the same documents over and over again. Now, applying this methodology to Islamic art reveals many overlaps, of course, but also gaping differences. On the most basic level, and now I have to change the slide, which I can't do from my screen. There we go, I can do it from here, sorry. On a most basic level, much Islamic art might be broadly considered under the rubrics of decorative arts and antiquities, categories in many ways opposite to paintings. Such objects exist as multiples. They're completed by unnamed artisans. They're often generically listed in inventories or archival sources. And I'm including here just an example, a 1910 letter from Maurice Naumann to Charles Freer, which mentions at the end a purchase of a lot of presumably late antique or early Islamic glass in Syria. And again, this is just 100 some odd objects listed here. Now, further, many of the artworks of the earliest centuries of the Islamic era are archaeological in nature, from licit and illicit excavations, collected in circumstances that raise ethical and moral questions for the researcher in the very course of research itself. The issue of provenience thus emerges as an essential consideration. While provenance encompasses the history of ownership of the object, provenience concerns the archaeological find spot of an artifact in situ. The loss of provenience represents the destruction of contextual knowledge gained through proper documentation, an irreparable loss. So an object's provenance may be known, that it came from a site or that it later moved through known ownership channels, but the artifact's scientific contribution is diminished without its provenience. And this issue of terminology is going to come up, I think, in different papers or panels today. Further, many of the artworks under the umbrella of Islamic art, both those archaeological and otherwise, were collected in conditions of colonial enterprise and of war, introducing layers of archival, historical, legal, and emotional complexity. These include the challenges of tracking down scattered, unprocessed, undigitized, inaccessible, or destroyed colonial era archival records, of discerning local legalities and ethical concerns to situate culturally determined concepts of ownership in colonial encounter, and of personally, and I think this is the hardest part, really personally preparing for distressing encounters with violent conditions of displacement, destruction, and criminality unfolding in archival real time. For those objects that circulated in the mid-20th century and later, it means contending with the possibility of illegal transactions, as in the forced sales from Jewish dealers and collectors in Nazi-era Europe, as you can see on the left, a document from 1943 from the ERR, and Inês will talk more about this kind of documentation, of contested conditions of ownership in Soviet-era Eastern Europe and Central Asia, or of illicit artifacts circulating in the Middle East following the US invasion of Iraq, the Arab Spring, the Syrian Civil War, and the war in Yemen. And just as an example on the right, this is a press release from the Smithsonian, which is now caretaker and custodian of a group of objects that were recently on the art market, including some early Quran folios. And I share this because those objects will be on view at the NMAA starting next week. Lastly, the instability of the term Islamic art itself, well discussed in art historiography, introduces additional uncertainty. Works deemed Islamic circulated among market networks similar to other taxonomies, such as ancient, Byzantine, medieval, Coptic, Asian art, and so on. And they may even have been identified in the archival sources as such, as this textile called Coptic. And also traveling along with modernist paintings, rare books, and so on. So this means that the specialist knowledge, content knowledge of Islamic art historians must necessarily be complemented with the expertise of colleagues working in adjacent fields and in art market and provenance studies to piece together patterns in the circulation of artworks on European, North American, and Middle Eastern markets in a given historical moment and across geographic locales. So for all these reasons, this workshop is going to take several different vantage points to on these themes of provenance research and publication. And our goal today is really pedagogical from our perspectives as art historians, archaeologists, curators, and provenance researchers. We aim to outline the contours of where the field is now, to present an overview of resources that are available for provenance research, and to engage your membership's perspective on future directions relevant to the research, publication, and teaching of provenance histories of Islamic art.